Alright, how's it going? I'm that Ginger Photographer. Today's video is going to be all about off-camera flash and mainly about how I use off-camera flash on different types of jobs. I'm mainly going to be referencing my Godox TT685c. The C stands for cool. So if you're thinking about getting one of these flashes or a Godox in general, this might be a pretty good video for you to watch. Also, if you're interested in off-camera flash, it's going to be a great video for you to watch. I do want to point out right at the start of this video that it's not going to be about power output and recharge times and recycle times. It's going to be more like this makes this go flashy flashy. So before I get into the off-camera flash and the Godox flashes themselves, I just want to talk about this beauty. I've got 3 of these and 3 of the Godox flashes, so 1 for each. Quick maths. And I cannot recommend them enough. They absolutely changed the game for me. I'm probably going to overlay some B-roll here, but your flash kind of just goes in there and you fasten it on. You can change this and move the angle up and down as you need it. And it just sits here on a light stand and they're so good. Each of these comes with a softbox as well that just folds out. I've got some footage of that I hope that I'll be putting on here. And they cost next to nothing on Amazon and I use them on every single job. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in one of those, but they cost next to absolutely nothing and I'm sure they'll work with most flashes. Just want to say a quick thanks to the sponsor of this video. I don't have any sponsors. So the setup that I use for off-camera flash is I've got 3 of these Godox TT685 and I've got 2 of these triggers as well, 1 for each camera that I'm using on a job. These aren't the most expensive flash systems available. In fact, I think they're probably one of the Godox's cheapest that they offer in the whole range. But I absolutely love them and they do an amazing job and they've never failed me yet. One thing I absolutely love about this setup is being able to control all 3 flash units from my camera. So as you can see, it's got all 3 flash units on there and you can just scroll through them. It's not scrolling. And change the output one by one if you need to. It's absolutely amazing. Blows my mind that you can do that, in all honesty. What a time to be alive. Fireworks, absolutely perfect. So there are 3 main times when I use off-camera flash and I'm going to talk more about how I use it and why I use it on these 3 occasions. Those are commercial jobs, usually food and drink, where I can get these set up in a restaurant or in a bar. Commercial portraits, so taking clients outside, getting headshots of them in natural surroundings, using the flash as a little bit of fill light. And lastly, weddings, either during the speeches if it really needs it, or on a dance floor for the whole night usually. I do want to point out that although I said I've got 3 of these, I never really use 3 of them at the same time. Maybe the odd occasion. I did think that I'd use 3 at the same time, in all honesty, but using 3 makes the image just a little bit too lit up. It's a little bit too bright and I like a little bit more contrast in my images. And I'm going to talk about how I use 2 now in this video now. So for food and drink photography, I usually have 1 flash up in the air on one of these stands, kind of pointing down, just lighting the image from above. And then I'll have another one on the left, slightly behind the food or the drink, or the food and drink if we're lucky. And that's just set behind so that it's given a little bit of rim light on the food, separating it from the background. And it's also set to the left hand side, just so it's filling in some of them shadows that this light up here is creating. This one on the left is usually set to a lower output as well, so it's not going to be as bright as your main light, which is light in the dish. This one's just a little bit of fill light, just bringing those shadows up a little bit. Doesn't have to be as bright as this one, and that'll add a nice little bit of depth to your food or your drink images. Really quick favour to ask, if you're enjoying this video, give us a like. So that's my go-to setup for food and drink photography, unless I'm feeling adventurous. The only thing that's going to let you down using these on a job like that is if you're going for a couple of hours, it's going to be battery life. To try and combat that a little bit, I set my power output to about 1/64th of the power of the flash. You're just turning that down so it's not as bright, it's not eating through your batteries as fast, and all you need to do there is raise your ISO a little bit. And using that setup, using that lower power, I've never actually had one of these die on me when the batteries have been fully charged. So there you go. So portrait photography for clients outside in natural settings. I've only used these outside a handful of times, mainly because I've only really had these in summer and these little flashes are not going to overpower the sun. Also, you'll probably find that I don't work many sunny days outside because I'm ginger. Even at full power on a sunny day, you still need to get these quite close to your subject. So for the images that I've taken with these, I'll usually use 1 outside with a client. I'll have it quite close to them. I won't be using a softbox, I'll just have the direct flash hitting them. When we've done it in a shaded area, which has been a lot better, I set it up quite nice and high, pointing down on them as though it is actually the sun coming down on them, quite close. I'll have the zoom set to off or I'll have it set to really low because I still want that nice spread of light. I don't want it to be too zoomed in and focused on them. So I set the flash zoom to wide or off completely, and I'll have the power set to full. Now lastly, I want to talk about wedding photography. This is where I definitely get the most bang for my buck. I'll use these during the speeches if it really needs it. I hate using these during speeches because I think they must be really distracting for the person giving the speech and also for the people watching the speech. If I do need to, all I'll do is it'll be on the light stand like this. I really don't want it to be directly pointed at a person, so I'll either bounce it off the ceiling, try and light up as much as possible, or I'll bounce it off a wall opposite the person giving the speech. So if they're stood here, I'll bounce it this way and it'll come back. So the walls and the ceiling are acting like a giant softbox for you there. And it really helps the light look a lot more natural and spread out a lot more, rather than just having that off-camera flash pointed straight at someone. So if you need to use it during speeches, either point it up or point it at the wall and let that light bounce off and light them up naturally. So the time when I use the off-camera flash the most is dance floor. Pretty much from first dance until I go home with a belly full of pizza. These will be my bad boys for the rest of the night. So other than some natural light photography, if you can call disco lights natural light, I'll be using 2 cameras on a harness. Both cameras will have a trigger on them, so they're both triggering the lights whenever I'm taking a picture. And I just pick and choose. I either get in really close or I stand just to the edge. And I'm constantly moving my light stands. I'm either changing the height or I'm moving the positions on the dance floor. Usually because people are just drunk and just dancing all over and I'm chasing after them with my lights. So sometimes I'll have the off-camera flashes set really high because I just want that light to spread over the top of everyone and kind of get a silhouette as though you're in a really cool club. And sometimes I'll have it pointing down, so it's just singling out one person when it hits them. For that, I'll turn the zoom on the flash to about 200 or 100, so it's really focused light and it's just hitting one person. Sometimes I like to make them a silhouette, sometimes I like to half light someone, so I'm constantly moving and changing my lights. Don't just leave them in one place. See how it works and move yourself as well. Again, I have these set to about 1/64th power or 1/128th power. Really low power output. Turn the ISO up, turn the aperture down, and just conserve those batteries again. There's no point using full power on these. It's not going to make much difference to turn these down and turn your camera settings up. As the night goes on and people get more drunk, you'll start to realise people do strange things to your light stands. I once was looking at the back of my camera, wondering why the light's getting weirder and different, and I looked and I just seen my light being carried across the dance floor. Some drunk woman just decided to pick it up and started walking about the dance floor with it. And one other way to use them is have this on your hot shoe on top of your camera, and you can set this to the master setting, set your other flash to slave. When you press your trigger and this fires, it'll also fire your other flash. So that is great if you want to set this in front of someone, pointing at them or slightly up, and you have a flash directly behind them as well. Again, giving you that rim light, separating them from the background. It'll look absolutely beautiful, but that does take a lot of practice. Another way that I sometimes use 2 flashes is I'll just keep one in hand, both set to slave. So I'll have one flash on a light stand behind them over there, and I'll have this in my left hand, camera here with a trigger on it. I'll be pressing the camera here, holding this up in the air. So again, it's not direct light, it can be a bit of side light, it can be from above, it can be from below, but it just adds that bit of atmosphere as well. And it doesn't just look like you've got your pop-up flash on your camera pointing straight at someone. If you're thinking about getting one of these, I'd say definitely do it, and if you can afford it, get 2. 2 of these is going to make all the difference, especially with your trigger as well. So if you can afford that setup, 2 of these and 1 of these, and you're away. You might enjoy this video, and I'll see you there. I love you so much. Bye.